Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for January 29th, 2018. Today, I wanted to talk about something that may or may not help you mentally with your practicing and trying to fit in all the practicing that you are aiming for in a given week or a given month or whatever. So I was talking to one of my students this week, Heather. Shout out to Heather. She's one of my favorite students, an awesome flute player from the UK. And we were talking about, I didn't get enough time to practice this week and not sure how to handle it mentally when, I'm too busy one day to actually get on the instrument and do the amount of practicing that I want to do. And that is a really, really common thing that I hear from people, and a common thing in my own practice life is that some days it's just impossible to get on your instrument and do what you need to do. Life gets in the way, right? It happens to me all the time, whether I'm traveling or have too many students or too many responsibilities on one day to actually get on the instrument and spend as much meaningful time as I would like to. But I wanted to maybe give you a different way to think about it. And that is, okay, so what I try to do is I try to get at least 2 hours every day, 6 days a week, from week to week. That's kind of my baseline practice time. So if you think about that, that's 12 hours a week, right? What I'm trying to achieve is 12 hours a week. Now, most of the time I go over, and that's another goal that I have is to when the 2 hours is up, if I have time, I want to keep going, right? Because I always want to get as much practice time as I possibly can in on a given week for obvious reasons to all of you out there. More time on the instrument, the better you get, right? But here's a good way to think about it is that I think a lot of us find ourselves with a lot of time on a certain day and then maybe little to no time on another day, right? So if we start to think about our practice time as a weekly thing, setting a weekly goal instead of a daily goal, we'll feel much better about when we don't get enough time on a certain day. So think about this for a second. The place that I always start is I'll look at my schedule for the week and I will schedule my day off from practicing. I do like to take a day off just to maybe let some things set in for me mentally or simply just take a break from the instrument. I feel like it's always a good thing to give yourself a breather, maybe for one day a week. That might not be true for all of you, but for me, it works really well. Just one day to relax and get my head out of that world. And then when I come back into it, I feel rejuvenated a little bit. Okay, so if you think about what is my busiest day of the week, what is the day of the week where I stand a large chance of not getting any time in? That's a good place to start. Schedule your day off at the beginning of the week so that you know, okay, on this certain day when I'm running around doing all this kind of stuff, I'm not going to get any time to spend meaningful time on the instrument. Okay, and then you have to think about your weekly goal. So if my weekly goal is 12 hours, and I know that on 2 days a week, I'm only going to get an hour to spend on my instrument, then I know I'm going to have to make up those other 2 hours somewhere, right? So for me, like on Sundays, I try not to schedule a lot of stuff. So if I have to catch up on my practicing, let's say that I get to Sunday and I only have 8 hours of practice in. Well, I know that I've got to spend 4 hours on the instrument that day to get to my 12 hours, right? And that just tends to ease my mind a little bit when I find myself in a situation where I can't practice that day. I know that hopefully I'll be able to make it up later in the week. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys out there where this isn't your profession, it isn't your life, you're not going to be doing 12 hours a week. But whatever your goal is, try to set it. Try to realistically sit down at the beginning of the week and think, all right, how many hours am I going to be able to get this week? And your goal doesn't have to be the same every single week, right? So if it needs to change from week to week, that's totally fine. Just for me, I hold myself accountable to that 12 hours because this is I need to be on top of my game at all times because my life is teaching and playing music. So I have to get those hours in. But for you, it might be 5 hours a week. It might honestly be 3 hours a week if that's all your schedule will allow. But set that goal, and then your goal by the end of the week is to have that many hours. Doesn't matter. Let's say your goal is 5 hours. You can't practice at all for 6 days out of the week, and then one day a week you have a huge open chunk of time. Try practicing for 5 hours. I don't know, it might not be feasible. 5 hours is a long time to practice in one day. But if you set that goal for yourself and you really, really want to achieve it, and it means a lot to you to achieve it, I bet you can get that 5 hours done, and you can get it done well if you have to, if you're forced into that situation. All right? So these are just some thoughts I have on keeping your motivation up, even though your schedule and life might be crazy and you can never really tell what's going to happen. So instead of at the end of the day feeling really, really bad that you didn't get your time in, just know, okay, I got to make up this time. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about time spent on the instrument. Of course, I would rather have you be as consistent as possible day in and day out, but that's just not a reality for a lot of people out there. So in lieu of that consistency, just come up with a certain amount of time that you would like to spend on your instrument to achieve your personal goals when it comes to getting better and playing jazz. All right? Hopefully that helps some of you out there. I know that's a topic of stress for me and a lot of my students, so I just wanted to say a few words about it. All right, we'll see you on Friday with a regularly scheduled episode. Have an awesome week, everybody. Make sure you get that time in and stay inspired. Talk to you soon. Bye.